Third part of this conversation, and again, this is really important from both a kind of delivery perspective if you're a drone operator, but also if you're a client. What are you actually getting so that it is of good quality and it has maximum value to you, so that you don't end up with things that aren't going to be usable? And I think if we were to roll the clock back, then typically drone data looks like this. Lots and lots and lots of photographs. Now, this happens to be photographs which are actually taken sequentially. You might be able to see that. That's because this is part of a mapping project. But to a client, I would say this is of very, very little use whatsoever. It's not what they want. I know it's the sort of core, or it's the bread and butter of what we do, but they're not useful in this format because there are too many of them. This is an example of we did some work with Bristol Airport relatively recently, doing some apron inspections of them, and we took tens of thousands of images. But those images on their own, they are of no utility, no use at all to the client. They only want them to be in a format which makes sense for them to be able to do their whatever it is with them. So that's a very key conversation with a client about how you are going to deliver things. And I've talked a lot about 3D models, and we work with different partners to deliver 3D models to the clients, because I'm sure most of you are aware that even if you've got a 3D model in what I call an agnostic format, like an OBJ file or something like that, it is of limited use to the client because they won't have the software to be able to access it. And what we work with clients to do is to help them understand what they need it for and work with them around a solution. And we work with principally 3 different companies here that you probably heard of. So we work with TrendSpec, an Australian company who have a really high quality premium platform, quite expensive, lots of functionality with it, high levels of security. We also work with 𝗏𝗏.app and another company in Eastern Europe called One3D. They all come at different price points. They all do different things. But actually, if you're just looking for cracks in roofing tiles, then you probably want to go for a slightly cheaper option than having all bells and whistles. But if you need high levels of data security, you need the ability to do things like deflection analysis, then you probably want a different product. What we are very cautious about is we don't necessarily sell any of these to the client. They're key to the client because they can't see what we've done without them in many instances. But what we do is we take them on a pathway and a journey of understanding as to which one we would recommend for them based on what we know about how their organization works. So this is almost like what I might call it's a collaboration between us and the client to find out more about what their needs are. And that's really, really important. So this is an example from Plymouth Community Homes around a product. I'll actually show the online version of this as well. So we try with a lot of our clients to produce a wrapper, a bundle of outputs for them that give them much more value than just a traditional ground-based survey, essentially. Now, we know that because we're capturing this with drones, and we also, for this particular project as well, we shot, obviously, the roof. So we shot that in nadir. We did some elevations and tying photos. We also used SLR ground-based photos for this as well. But we're confident with our workflows that we can get a better output than a ground-based laser scan. And that kind of, as I said before, that bundle of products that the client is going to get, because we understand their needs, are of higher value than just the normal traditional workflow. So what we would present for this client is they get, firstly, excuse me, they get a 3D model online of their asset, inspectable, so they can use that for planned preventive maintenance if they want. They also, in this instance, are getting a high density point cloud. We're actually looking at this in a Revit folder format, as it were, because we wanted to do the elevations from this as well. And then they also wanted basically CAD and BIM done on it. But I think what's interesting about this is that we're able to produce all of these outputs and high quality outputs because at the core of this, we have the 3D model. And that 3D model can really help them in terms of understanding their asset and their sort of sustainability. Now, I'm just going to show you this if I can because I think I've got it up here. I'm going to show you it on One3D. So here we are. I might have to just reload it a second because it will probably have crashed. There we are. Right. So One3D, as I said before, is one example of a viewer that we use for our 3D models. Remember, this is produced using photogrammetry, lots and lots of photos in this. Like a lot of products, you're able to inspect all of the different elevations and things from it. So I can control the angle that I'm looking at it. I just press up the top there and you can see all the drone images that have been taken. There's a lot. It's quite a complex building with lots of different sort of elevations on it. And we wanted to really make sure that the top down, what we call the nadir photos, were tied in with all of the other photos that we took as well. So an interesting sort of set of ideas with this. You can click on any particular element of the building, and a lot of these online technologies do this, and you can look at a single photograph at that point. So this is a lot of value to the client, because remember, with a normal ground-based survey, they don't get any of this. What they're getting is a point cloud, and then they're getting their deliverables. So we're adding quite a lot of value with our workflow to be able to show people how to do this. And this is, you know, this is quite a high quality model. So you can see on here, if I zoom in, you can see the writing that's on here, you know, the brickwork and all of those sorts of things. So this is obviously, as I said before, it's for Plymouth Community Homes. And so it's about getting more bang for your buck, really. So if I go back to this for a second as well. So remember that what we've done is we've delivered them a point cloud. We then work with them to find out a bit more about what they want. So this is all part of our kind of client liaison. And they want an elevation, and they also want a topo done of that site. Here's an example of the elevation and topos that we've done. We outsource these to a range of different organizations and technicians that we work with. We're pretty cost competitive on it. And we think that our CAD drawings are better than the majority that you would get from a kind of normal ground-based laser scan, because the CAD technician has the 3D model to have a look at as well, so they can give it more detail. And you can see on here there is a lot of detail on this particular 2D elevation. And we actually did, as an experiment on this one here, we got a ground-based laser scan, we paid for it, and we got the CAD elevation out of it, and it was nowhere near as detailed. And similarly for the topo that's on the right-hand side. So a lot of detail and data. One of the outputs also that the client wants as well is they want a scan to BIM solution. So our same photogrammetry data goes into that and produces basically the Revit model that the client wants as well. And we increasingly find this is what clients need, as well as the 2D elevations, because in the world of architecture, people are moving across from kind of basically from AutoCAD, which is a 2D product, into Revit, which is a 3D product as well. So lots and lots of value out of our existing data.